What's up, you guys? I'm Dan. This is Frugal Not Cheap. Today we're going to go on a grocery run with FSD Beta 11.4.4, and we'll talk a little bit about version 12 and the state of things as they are right now. Alright, let's engage FSD Beta. Whoop. It's been kind of finicky about that lately. It's harder to engage lately. I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe my timing. But let's see if it can handle this gate. But well, I'm getting a message here about poor GPS location accuracy. That's been kind of happening off and on every now and then. All right, I'm going to have to stop here for a moment to get the location put in. Sorry about that. All right, she's got the location, and now she knows where she wants to go. So creeping here a little bit overly cautious with this, but anyway, it worked out okay. So the idea here is to do just a simple run to the grocery store, but actually it's relatively challenging because I've got one of those Chuck Cook style unprotected left turns right here. So actually I hit on the brakes there because I was uncomfortable with how far forward we were. It was probably fine. But I felt uncomfortable, so that's already one disengagement there. Better safe than sorry. I'll go back in the video and look and see if we were at a creep limit or something like that. Most likely we were, but I didn't feel comfortable there. So obviously still a lot of work needing to be done with version 11 that we're on. I don't have 11.4.7, which is the newest one that some of the OG sort of beta testers have. But even in my version 11.4.4, I do have some of the same issues they have with lane drift occasionally, where it'll decide to go into a left turn lane when it doesn't need to. It needs to proceed straight. So it's kind of a weird issue. And I still occasionally have issues with it not getting onto an on-ramp or an off-ramp, basically just not making a good decision about which lane to be in. So recently Elon Musk showed off a bit, sort of an alpha probably, version of what's called version 12. And the big step here, and it really a lot of people are talking about it as if it's super revolutionary, and you know, let's not take any credit away from them. It is a huge achievement and a big step, but it is more evolutionary than revolutionary in the sense that the plan has always been to, over time, replace the thinking that's done by the FSD computer from being done by hard-coded C++ code into neural nets. So they initially tried doing everything with cameras. With still images. That didn't work so well. Then they learned to do video, and then they used neural nets for solving the problem of perception, of turning all of that video feed into an understanding of the world, what they call vector space. Then using that vector space as the starting point, then they wrote all the code for how the vehicle should plan and then also be controlled. So those were the three kind of stages, right? You've got perception, then planning, and then the actual control, the outputs, which are, you know, how much to hit the accelerator or the brakes and turn the steering wheel. You really have pretty simple outputs here with the vehicle. So anyway, they had about 300,000 lines of code as of the version 11.4.7, but there were already some neural nets that had been implemented into both the planning and maybe even in the control sections. You can see there's a really good interview with James Douma. Yeah, I'll put up the diagram here of kind of the evolution there. Of adding more neural nets into the process here. So basically over time, you know, they had this kind of system of hydra nets, they called it, where you had, you know, many different neural nets. Well, over time they have been replacing hard code with these neural nets, and so that's always been the plan. And so what this version 12 does is finally completely replaces the code with neural nets. And again, online on Twitter, well, X now, I've seen a lot of discussion of basically that they're throwing away all this work. And like, yeah, they're throwing away those 300,000 plus lines of code, but a lot of the architecture is probably still fairly similar to the incremental addition of neural nets that they've been doing all along. So it's not like they're completely throwing out all of the work that they've done to date. I don't think that's an accurate characterization. While we're here, actually, let me change the destination, because I'm taking the right turn into my Walmart is really easy, but what we were having trouble with before, and I wanted to see whether or not version 11.4.4 can do any better of a job of that, is to take a left turn into the grocery store. These suicide lanes here in Texas tend to give FSD Beta a lot of trouble. So we'll see how that goes. But what do I think about version 12? Well, I think that it has a lot of potential benefits, but there are also some potential pitfalls. So of course, the major benefit is going to be that it's going to be much, much faster, and also much, much smoother. So it's going to be able to drive a lot more like a human, because all of that planning and control that was kind of herky-jerky because it was done by hand code will be done by neural nets, and so it'll be nice and smooth. What's going to be difficult, though, is that because neural networks by nature are probabilistic, and they use all these different weights, right? And it's really hard to get them to just never do something or to always do something, right? So the implementation of sort of hard set rules is very hard, which is also a good thing because you don't always want to use hard set rules. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there as well. But what I mean is things like training it to stop at stop signs, training it to do some of the things. Up here we have another lane issue where it's oh, what is it doing? Oh, it thinks that we're meant to go this way to get to the Kroger. This is definitely wrong. Oh, but this is what the nav says. All right, so this might work. I've never been this way before, but to give Beta credit, it did make this left turn just fine. We're going a little fast for my taste here, even though the limit is 30. All right, moved over for that guy pretty well. Interesting. Yeah, I've never been to the grocery store this way. And we have a lot of speed bumps here. Great. But hey, we're getting there. So not as I intended to do it, but anyway, a successful trip to the grocery store nevertheless. Except for that unprotected left turn where it intervened right off the bat. And whether or not we would have been okay there, I don't know. But here, this is the herky-jerky kind of crazy stuff that should be solved by version 12, where the wheel's just going left and right like nuts. It just doesn't seem to exhibit a lot of confidence, let's say, at all. And so hopefully that's going to be solved when we get to version 12. All right, so I'm going to jump into the grocery store here, and then I'll be back with you for our way home. All right, let's head back. And I forgot to mention, by the way, that I did change the visualization. Look how selfish people are. So I've got the expanded full self-driving visualization here. So hopefully that's been an improvement over the previous view. See how I feel about that. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I know the wheel's kind of a lot in the way. All right, let's go ahead and activate beta. And we'll go at like 15 miles an hour here. Slowly, carefully. So again, this is the stuff that it's not as good at, and I think version 12 is going to be much better at, is this parking lot type stuff and just all the situations where it exhibits a lot of nervousness, which is really just a function of probabilities, low probabilities, so it's just not 100% sure what to do. We got lucky here, so we can proceed to the right quite easily. And you can see that we veered very far into the middle lane and then moved right back over to the right lane. So I think at that point, I don't know that that's really the best way to go. I would have preferred just going into the middle lane myself, but anyway, everyone's got a different opinion about that. All right, so now this is the easy part for beta, or it should be for the current beta. So yeah, how about version 12? So again, as we were talking a minute ago, I think it's going to be really hard for them sometimes to implement a way to make sure that it doesn't exhibit undesired behaviors, like rolling stop signs or just, you know, or maybe too close of a follow distance. So what they're going to need is just tons and tons of examples to move the weights appropriately, so that Beta will not engage in those undesirable behaviors. So that may be a little bit tricky. But on the plus side, you know, having this open-ended neural network type of way of it figuring out what to do is going to mean that it's going to be much more robust to different driving situations, and so we'll have less to worry about to places where the hardcore to control would have been brittle. So I think it's definitely going to be a major improvement. We may see a few regressions depending on how long they wait before launching FSD 12. Right now it's a little bit unclear. Elon has said that FSD Beta version 12 will not be beta. In other words, it'll be like kind of a wide release deal. And so that would be a big step, a very big difference in their strategy. Where currently they're releasing all these incremental updates and it's all in beta. I don't know why they wouldn't release version 12 as a beta. Maybe they call it like 11.420, but it's really version 12. But I don't know. Anyway, so a little bit odd how he's choosing basically to make the path harder for them, which could be in order to get the team to really have a hard goal to hit. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be weird if they do, but let's see if they do launch with version 12 as a non-beta type deal. But the demo that Elon showed was about 40 some minutes. And there only had one intervention there, which was where I tried to proceed forward when it was the green arrow was for a left turn and not for proceeding straight. And so Ashok has said that was a bit of a regression there in the latest model. And so hopefully they'll be able to fix that and any other little regressions that they see. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what version 12 will bring. I'm really, really excited about the prospect, actually. Tesla has been really compute constrained, but not long ago they booted up another large cluster of, I think, A100s or H100s. Anyway, they have a lot more compute available, and so hopefully that's going to mean that they can iterate a whole lot faster on training the neural nets and improving their performance. So it still doesn't know school zones, but we are following behind other people here. Just in case though, so it doesn't get impatient and do something crazy, I am going to drop the limit down to 25 here for the school zone. And I think the last thing I'll say here, and then we'll just let the car drive and I'll speed it up unless something happens, is to say that, you know, while I was a bit harsh on Beta 11.4.4, it doesn't mean that it's not an incredible achievement, and doesn't mean that it's not something that I use all the time, because I do. I've learned, you know, where it has these lane drift issues and where it's a little bit weak, and then I'll be more ready to intervene, or I might just turn it off momentarily and then reactivate it when I know it's really not good at something. But in general, it's a very useful feature that adds a whole lot of relaxation to the driving, because it turns it from being a situation where you have to actively drive and do everything to where you can really more be monitoring and just overseeing, and that's a whole lot more relaxing. And as I've said many times before, the combination of me providing that oversight and Beta doing the primary attempt at driving, I think that those combined is way, way safer than either of us alone. But this is another situation where Beta has sometimes struggled, is taking these left turns when they're on a yield with a flashing yellow. It's just not great about timing and the amount of acceleration that's required in order to complete a safe maneuver. And it's especially bad when you're not able to see all of the lanes of oncoming traffic. So this happens more when you have like a 2-lane by 2-lane with a suicide, where you really need to kind of like edge out a little bit and then really make sure whether or not there's oncoming traffic that you can't see, because there's this car in the suicide lane on the other side that's also trying to turn. So you're both kind of trying to do this, and it gets pretty risky. So we can see here Beta edging forward. I think she's got a pretty good handle on kind of what cars are out there. But see, I would be edging forward further now. It's really dumb of her to be waiting back here. Yeah, that was stupid. It would have been a lot safer to go forward. Here's another issue. She crosses lanes. She should have gone into this rightmost lane and followed those dashed lines, but decided instead to go into the middle lane. And there were no other cars around, so it's perfectly safe to do that. But I don't believe it's the right way to go. So a lot of these lane issues have, I think, become worse in these later versions of version 11. And I hope to see a lot of improvement in version 12, because it'll do what humans do, and I don't think humans cross lanes like that. Well, I guess they do in a lot of situations, so that's going to be another challenge in curating it to find all the drivers that really are good about following traffic laws. And one reason why Tesla has actually hired some FSD Beta drivers around the world in different locations, probably, so that they can provide more good training input. Alright guys, that's it for today. Hopefully I did a good job with showing you the current state of FSD Beta 11.4.4 and the remaining issues that it has that hopefully will be fixed with FSD Beta version 12 whenever that comes out. I'll be really looking forward to testing that with you when it finally does. Until then, hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.